What is up, gang? How are you? I'm Kevin Iole. Friday in Arlington, Texas. He's back. Yes, Mike Tyson, 58-year-old Mike Tyson, will step into a boxing ring yet again. This time he will fight 27-year-old Jake Paul. If you have a Netflix account, good news, because you can watch the fight, because the fight is free on Netflix. It's going to be free around the world. So this fight should have a massive audience. So let's talk about it. And I think there's three main questions that we really have to ask here about this. Number one, why is a 58-year-old man stepping back into the ring to fight a 27-year-old man? And why would that 27-year-old man want to fight the 58-year-old man? Number two, is it on the up and up? I never really thought that from the time the fight was made, and we'll get into that in a second. But a lot of people I trust, when I ask them what they think is going to happen, they preface their comment by saying, if the fight is on the up and up. So I think we have to at least consider, is this going to be an actual competition? Are they both going to try to win, or is something funny going to happen here? And third, if it is on the up and up, does Mike Tyson have a chance to win this fight? So let's start with that, because I think that is the key question that people want to know here. Mike Tyson, one of the great fighters who ever lived, the youngest heavyweight champion, one of the hardest punchers in the heavyweight division of all time, one of the biggest draws of all time. In my opinion, I think Mike Tyson is probably the second biggest draw in boxing history behind Muhammad Ali. And I know there have been a lot of huge stars in boxing, but I think Mike Tyson was one of those special guys and one of the biggest draws. And he has turned into this beloved figure, really. And I know most people are going to be rooting for Iron Mike to come out on top on this thing. Tyson is 50-6, and he hasn't had an actual fight that counted since June 11th, 2005, when he was beaten by somebody named Kevin McBride. Now, would Kevin McBride have ever beaten Mike Tyson if Mike Tyson was anywhere close to his prime? No way. We know that, Kevin McBride was just a guy. Mike Tyson was special. But Mike Tyson was at the end of the line. The fight had been beaten out of him at that point in June of 2005, and he really had nothing left. It was his second consecutive loss. 11 months earlier, he had fought Danny Williams, a little bit better of an opponent than Kevin McBride, but still Danny Williams was no Lennox Lewis or Evander Holyfield, and Mike was beaten by Danny Williams as well. Mike ended up his career losing 3 of his last 4. He lost to Lennox Lewis, was really dominated in that fight, intimidates Clifford Etienne and really beats Clifford Etienne badly, stops him in that fight in the first round, and then loses to Williams and McBride. And if you saw Mike sitting on the stool when the fight was stopped between the 6th and 7th round, and you said, yeah, I think in 19 years, this guy is going to fight again, you would have won a lot of money, and people would be calling you Nostradamus because no one ever saw Mike coming back to take a real fight. But look, the Texas Athletic Commission, in its infinite wisdom, has sanctioned this as a professional boxing match. Now, there are some special rules. They are wearing 14-ounce gloves. Normally, heavyweights would wear 10-ounce gloves. In this particular fight, they're wearing 14-ounce gloves. So there's going to be a little bit more padding. And I think that's an issue that goes against Tyson's chances of winning the fight. I wrote this when the fight was first made, and I'll put a link in the video so you can find it. But Mike's best chance is going to be to land something. He was such a huge puncher, and if he hits Jake Paul on the chin with anywhere near the kind of velocity that he used to have, it's going to be over for Jake Paul. Now, I wonder if he's going to be able to do that, even if everything else was equal, because he's 58 years old, and 58-year-old people have no business in a boxing ring, right? They just do not have business in a boxing ring. That is the domain for younger people. But Mike is going to make a lot of money in this fight. There's no doubt about that. And I think he loves to fight. And so this is something that he wants to do. And so he found a commission that would allow him to do this. He did fight, of course, in November of 2020 in an exhibition fight when he went 8 rounds and fought to a split draw with Roy Jones Jr. Certainly not a scintillating fight there, but that wasn't even a real fight. This actually is going to count on the records. So Mike will either be 51-6 after this is over, or he will be 50-7. So what are Mike's chances of winning this fight if it's a legit fight? And I have to say, I think very, 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 very slim. At DraftKings Sportsbook, Jake Paul is a minus 260 favorite. Mike is plus 200. The over-under in the fight is 6.5 rounds. They're only fighting 8 rounds. Over is minus $1.05. Under is minus $1.30. And then I think this is very interesting. Jake Paul to win by KO, TKO, or DQ is plus 115. Mike Tyson, arguably the greatest knockout puncher who ever lived, to win by KO is plus 300. I mean, I think that tells you a lot about what the bookmakers think and what the public reaction has been so far to Mike's chances of winning this fight. Let me talk for a second, though, before I get more into the fight, do I think it's on the up and up? And I do. I don't think it's going to be a fixed fight. Number one, Jake Paul is running a growing promotional company, and Most Valuable Promotions. And Jake Paul is a wonderful promoter. He knows what he is doing. He knows how to command attention. He gets it mostly for his own fights, right? But I think when he's done and gone, if he done from boxing, not done and gone, if he continues to promote, I think he has a chance to become a major promoter and do something in the space. And if there is even the suspicion that you did a work, that you had a fixed fight, you will lose your license so fast. And those licenses are so valuable. So I don't really think that the fight is fixed. I think that they are going to come and fight. They tried to mitigate it by cutting it from 3-minute rounds to 2-minute rounds, and to cut back the number of rounds to 8. So they're only going to fight 16 minutes total if it goes the distance. And also the fact that they're putting the 14-ounce gloves on, that will reduce the force of the punches, both that Mike is delivering and that Mike is taking. So they're kind of a sparring glove at 14 ounces. Doesn't mean you can't get hurt. Doesn't mean you can't get dropped. Usually a sparring glove for a heavyweight would be 16. But, I think having that extra padding in there will make it a little bit safer for the fighters. When the fight was first announced, I talked to a lot of people about it. One of them, who I greatly respect, is my good friend Teddy Atlas, the Hall of Fame boxing trainer and occasional announcer. And Teddy was not convinced that it's not a work. And I haven't talked to him recently, but I still think Teddy believes that, right? There's part of Teddy that's like, I'm not sure if this is on the up and up. He did say to me that if the fight was legit, he thought Mike had the power to hurt and potentially stop Jake Paul. But I just don't think that Jake Paul and Nikisa Badarian, who runs Most Valuable Promotions for him, would take the risk of making it a phony fight and losing their promotional license, because that would be worth millions of dollars. I mean, I think this fight is going to draw so many viewers, and it's probably going to get Netflix into live sports. Now, I have been saying for a while, I think Netflix is going to get a piece of the UFC deal when their deal is up with ESPN next year. I think you'll see Netflix be one of the people that UFC does a deal with. I don't think they're going to have an exclusive like they've had in the past with ESPN, Fox, et cetera, going back to in the Spike days. I think you'll see kind of more like an NBA or NFL deal where their rights are given to multiple partners. I think ESPN will retain for UFC. I think Netflix will get some. Who knows who else may come in there? Maybe Amazon, somebody else. But I do think Netflix is going to get into live sports. And with that worldwide subscriber base, that is very attractive to promoters because they don't have to go searching around for making deals with all these different networks, right? So right now, the way it is, if you want to put on a show and you want to do it worldwide, well, you got to find all the broadcast outlets in each country and say and negotiate deals and put the fight out that way. Right now, if you get Netflix, you're going to be able to just say, hey, watch it on Netflix at such and such a time, whatever it is in your market, and you'll be able to watch the fight. I think that's going to be very attractive to most valuable promotions, which is a very young company and a company on the rise. So I don't think that they're going to try to do anything that would make this a work. So I think the fight will be on the up and up. Obviously, the reason that they're doing the fight is what I just said. Number one, Mike Tyson is beloved. That exhibition match with Roy Jones drew 1.6 million on pay-per-view, which is one of the biggest pay-per-views in boxing or MMA history. Tyson is just an enormous, enormous, enormous draw. People love Iron Mike. I don't think that Jake Paul, even though he's popular on social media, has nearly the popularity among the boxing audience that he does as Mike Tyson does. When you look at Jake's pay-per-views, the boxing matches he's done, they went down, down, down. The only one that really kind of popped up there was when he fought Nate Diaz, the former UFC star. He fought Diaz and he popped up, but most of those pay-per-views weren't doing really big numbers. This, of course, is not a pay-per-view. People can watch this just if they have a Netflix subscription. So it should be easier for people to see it. But I think most of the people, if they come to watch the fight, they're going to be Mike Tyson fans, and Mike Tyson will have brought them in, and they want to see what Mike Tyson can do. So can he win? I wish I could say yes, but I do not think Mike is going to be able to win this fight. His best chance, I think, of course, is going to be early. A lot of you guys remember Mike from back in the day. If you're too young, you see the highlights of some of the devastating knockouts, and you might see the clips that have been put on social media where Mike is bobbing and weaving and he looks really quick and you see him throwing a punch or two. But remember, social media is not real life, and you're only seeing a very short capsule. How long is Mike going to be able to do that? Now, I don't like these kind of fights, celebrity fights, or, I want to see the best fight the best. And neither of these two guys, as we speak in November of 24, are anywhere near the best, right? Mike is 58 years old and has been retired for nearly 20 years. Jake Paul is 10-1 as a boxer, but he's fought mostly NBA players. He's fought a rapper. He's fought MMA fighters. So, Jake is not exactly this highly regarded boxer either. So, but he's 27 years old, and I think he's like a mid-level type guy, right? He's working hard at it. He's got good people around him. He's got good people coaching him. He's got good people conditioning him. And I think, that he is going to maximize whatever boxing talent that he has. I just don't think that and this is no knock on him, right? I just don't think he's like this great, talented boxer. And beating Mike Tyson, if he knocks him out with one punch in the first round, isn't going to prove that, because Mike is 58 years old. And we saw what he looked like 20 years ago. Do you think he's going to be better 20 years later? Do you think he's going to look more energetic? Do you think he's going to punch harder than he did when he fought Kevin McBride? Do you think he's going to be quicker? Do you think he's going to have more energy? Of course he's not, right? That is not going to happen. So I think we have to look at this in context. We know that Jake Paul a little bit smaller than Mike, but he's going to come in, over 200. He's 27. He's been fighting on the regular. He's been sparring on the regular. He's has a wrestling background. I expect Jake Paul to be in fairly good condition. And I think that is going to be the big thing for him in this fight. As long as he avoids a haymaker by Mike, um, you know, anything can happen. If Mike lands a haymaker, hey, look, Mike is one of the hardest punchers who ever lived. And even at 58 years old, if he lands a shot, it's going to hurt Jake Paul, maybe knock him out. I want to before I wrap this up, I want to say one other thing that I think is interesting and is important in this case. You hear a lot of people say the power is the last thing to go. And that is true, but that is generally when we're talking about a guy sort of, in the late stages of what would be his normal boxing career, not a 58-year-old guy, right? When George Foreman came back, he came back in his late 30s and he won the title at 45, but George had a lot of fights between, whatever he was, 38, 39, and 45 when he knocked out Michael Moore and won the title. Um, and that's a lot younger than 58 years old that Mike Tyson is. And, George was kind of this big lumbering guy. And so you didn't need to have all that quickness. You just needed to be powerful and get the person in range where you can land something. But Mike's, bob and weave style where he would move, that style is highly effective for short periods of time. It's hard to maintain. And I find it's going to be very hard for Mike to perform that, round after round after round on Friday night. So I have to think Jake Paul is going to win this. I think it would be a phenomenal story if Mike were to win, Mike were to land something. I hope both guys come out of this healthy, safe. And what I hope most of all is that Mike decides I've had enough and I'm retired and I'm gone for good. Because I think, Mike being around boxing is good, talking boxing, being interviewed, being seen at ringside. But I don't think it's good to have a 58-year-old guy in the ring. So let me know what you guys think. Put your opinions down in the comment, who you think is going to win, if you think the fight is on the up and up, or if you think it's going to be a fix, why you think they're fighting. And if you are into it and you think I'm wrong and that people are going to be into this fight, let me know all that. I would also appreciate it if you could please subscribe to my channel. I got a lot of interviews all the time. I'm trying to improve the channel constantly. So if you could like the video and subscribe to my channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoy the fight, and we will see you real soon. Be well.